This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
There's no such thing as loan forgiveness. It just gets transferred to someone else.
We lead the nation in out-migration to people who are leaving the state because it's so unaffordable.
You have storms moving over the same area over and over. You can quickly get an inch to an inch and a half of rain, potentially.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
Good afternoon and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Family Life News anchor Sarah Harnish. Pot passes the first hurdle. Pennsylvania lawmakers just advanced a bill in committee legalizing recreational marijuana. The House Health Committee passed House Bill 1200 this morning in a 14-12 vote. The cannabis legislation bill now moves to the full Pennsylvania State House for consideration. State Representative Emily Kincaid is the co-author.
What we're hoping to be is really a gold standard for what legalization can and should look like.
It may make the cut to slide into the state budget this year. Most Pennsylvanians seem to support legalizing marijuana.
I'm not an active user of marijuana, but I have no problem with legalization of recreational use in small quantities.
I think if it's beneficial for some people, why not? Like Pennsylvania should be up to date with all the other states.
But Michael Chitwood, the Upper Darby police superintendent, feels differently.
I think it's a bad idea. We already got one substance that we abuse daily, and that's alcohol. Now you're going to abuse marijuana.
He says legalizing any drug is dangerous, especially if there's no way to tell if a driver is under the influence of marijuana.
All I'm asking people that want to legalize marijuana, look at the communities that already have done, and then look at the crime rates and what they're dealing with.
In 2020, 11.7 million people admitted to driving after using marijuana. 44% of drivers in fatal crashes test positive for drugs in a study by the Governor's Highway Safety Association. Delays are plaguing busy Newark Airport in New Jersey today. 150 flights canceled, 250 delayed, and it's impacting air traffic nationwide. This after a handful of FAA employees took 45 days off in protest after the equipment that allows them to protect planes and passengers failed. No one was hurt. CBS's Meg Oliver.
I'm telling you, I've never seen it this quiet, especially on a Monday, a busy day for travelers that are flying out. We know the main reason we're seeing all these delays and cancellations is due to a severe staffing shortage with air traffic controllers.
New York Senator Chuck Schumer.
I have asked the Office of Inspector General to thoroughly investigate what's going on at Newark and in the East Coast, so these problems don't get worse and spread all across the nation.
No questions asked. The Department of Homeland Security said this morning it will offer $1,000 to migrants in the U.S. illegally who agree to self-deport to their home countries.
Those opposed to this immigration policy will say, well, it's so inefficient to deport them. Yes, that's probably true. If we lived in a world where we had a secure border, a wall around it, and we knew who was in this country and how they got here, and we knew for sure that there weren't others coming, then we could focus on those here and look at things like amnesty and work to citizenship.
Fox News analyst Joey Jones.
The reason why Republicans have had to take such a hard line on, nope, you got to deport first, is because we opened the floodgates and brought so many people into this country for so long, and things like Nancy Pelosi pulling the deal that would have built the wall for DACA. Congress put us in this position.
Beginning today, the U.S. government has resumed collections on defaulted student loans, garnishing wages and other payments to do it. Braxton Brewington is with the Grassroots Debt Collective.
These are folks who simply just cannot afford a student loan payment. There's 5 million people. Many of them have been in default for several years.
42 million borrowers owe $1.6 trillion to the federal government. 5 million people haven't made a payment in a year.
You must start to repay your loan. And this is not to in any way try to cause hardships. There are several different payment plans that you can access if you go to studentaid.gov.
Education Secretary Linda McMahon spoke with Fox News this afternoon.
They need to get on it because there isn't going to be any loan forgiveness program. As the White House press secretary said this afternoon, there's no such thing as loan forgiveness. It just gets transferred to someone else. And that's just not fair.
Yeah, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
President Trump says he's directed the government to reopen and expand the notorious former California prison Alcatraz. It's been closed for more than 60 years.
It's long been a symbol, Alcatraz. It's a sad symbol, but it's a symbol of law and order.
Alcatraz is currently a tourist attraction run by the Park Service. Overseas, Israel's cabinet has approved a plan to capture all of Gaza and remain there for an unspecified amount of time. CBS reporter Robert Berger in Jerusalem.
Now the plan is to seize more territory, virtually the entire Gaza Strip. That means also pushing out the civilian population, which has already been displaced many times, to so-called safe zones.
In Rome, it's almost time to pick a pope.
The cardinals will be gathering once again for what are called general congregations. It's an opportunity for them to talk amongst themselves about the key topics. The biggest thing is getting to know each other a little bit more as we progress through the conclave.
EWTN's Matthew Brunson tells Fox.
Tuesday afternoon, they're scheduled to move into the Casa Santa Marta, or the Vatican guest house, where they're all going to be sequestered. And then Wednesday morning, we have the Mass. It's traditionally called the Mass of the Holy Spirit, where they begin this spiritual journey toward the conclave.
And there are celebrations in England marking 80 years since the end of World War II. CBS reporter Vicky Barker is there.
King Charles taking the salute from the marching bands. The last major commemoration of World War II was led by his late mother, Queen Elizabeth.
We see a royal family that's changing, but here today, very much celebrating the traditions and history.
Historian Robert Lacey, William, Kate, and their 3 children were there too, stressing the continuity of the royal family. A fly pass followed by tea in the palace for surviving veterans.
Still to come on the 5 o'clock report, Elise Stefanik for governor, Tish James against Donald Trump, and getting back on their feet, the 500,000 Pennsylvanians that have power again. Those stories after weather with Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The pattern is one of plenty of cloud cover, moderate temperatures, and humidity. Later in the week, drier air should mean brighter skies and a reduced chance of rain. In the meantime, for tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday, plenty of clouds, and from time to time a shower, and in some cases a thunderstorm. There will also be some overnight and early morning fog patches. Low temperatures tonight, 50s. High temperatures tomorrow and Wednesday, mostly in the 60s to near 70.
Thank you, Kevin. Checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik said again she's strongly considering a run for New York governor in 2026. Stefanik speaking to Fox News.
Absolutely, I am strongly considering, because look at the crises that Kathy Hochul and single-party Democrat rule have delivered to New Yorkers. And this has been over the period of decades. We have an economic crisis and affordability crisis. We are the highest tax state in the nation. We lead the nation in outmigration, people who are leaving the state because it's so unaffordable.
Stefanik says she believes independents and even some moderate Democrats may vote for a Republican governor in the next election cycle.
We are also the most anti-energy state in the country. Look at the southern tier where there's such economic malaise and despair. You go to Pennsylvania and you see boom in these small towns. In addition, you have a sanctuary city pro-illegal policies in New York State where they prioritize illegals rather than law-abiding New Yorkers. And then, of course, you have the crime crisis. This is a result of Kathy Hochul's failed bail reform, where they turned their backs on hardworking law enforcement officers. They prioritized the criminals.
Her statement comes after her nomination to become U.S. ambassador to the United Nations fell through earlier this year because President Trump wanted her to remain in Congress with a vote so close between Democrats and Republicans. A fiery Tish James, the Attorney General of New York, said she's planning to sue the Trump administration for proposed cuts to health care.
The list goes on and on and on. All of these funds and more, we've got to stand up. And that's why Democratic attorneys general will be joining me in filing this lawsuit.
James said she's partnered with 19 attorneys general who are seeking to stop the restructuring overseen by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who's now running for U.S. Senate, tells Fox News it's just political posturing.
Democrats are out of power in Washington, D.C., so they resort to these frivolous lawsuits. They have another one right now against the HHS related to COVID era funding. morning.
The lawsuit filed in D.C. in federal court earlier today. At least one college student in Pennsylvania is being suspended after an anti-Semitic sign went viral over the weekend. It's all related to customers at Barstool Sansom Street in Philadelphia ordering bottle service with a sign that had an anti-Semitic saying on it. In a video posted to social media, Barstool sports owner Dave Portnoy, who's Jewish, said 2 servers from the bar had been fired, and he also spoke to the 2 men responsible for the sign. And last week was a tough one for tens of thousands of Pennsylvanians who had to make do without electricity after a series of severe storms took close to 500,000 people off the grid in Pennsylvania. Efforts have been ongoing since to get power fully restored, and as of this afternoon, the number of customers without power is whittled down to about 20,000, mostly in Allegheny County. It was hard on business owners like Renee Turturica, whose Johnstown store was down for days. She told WJAC,
"We were closed for 3 days. Everything was a complete loss. All of my ice cream went, all of the milks, all the iced teas, all the meats, all the cheeses."
She's thankful for friends and coworkers for seeing them through with her. She's back online today. The threat is there, though, for more severe weather in our area this afternoon. No official watches or warnings just yet, but WGRZ meteorologist Patrick Hammer in Buffalo says potent storms could bring multiple issues, including flooding.
Any of them could produce some hail, heavier rain, and downpours. The concern is that you have storms moving over the same area over and over. And that could focus the rainfall in one area, and you could quickly get 1 inch to 1.5 inches of rain, potentially.
Our own Kevin Williams is tracking the situation closely. His forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Next at 5, issues in education with Dr. Ralph Kerr and our own Bob Price. Let's listen in.
Deal or no deal? Still no official budget in Albany. Foundation aid is the thing holding up the budget. Now, we had announced earlier that they had a deal. Apparently, there's still more deal making to do, Ralph. So if you would, talk a little bit about this thorny issue of foundation aid, and how does this interfere with school districts knowing what they're getting from Albany?
Well, it's the key to everything because foundation aid is the largest portion of aid that local school districts get. And by law, the school districts are required to hold their annual meetings over the next couple of weeks. I know many of them have already got them scheduled, and they really don't know for sure what their foundation aid is going to be, which is critical. Now, the governor's been going all over the state talking about how the deal is done, but it isn't done. They passed another extender last week into the middle of this week, so that would be a clear indication that it's not done. And I have to tell you, I really wish that instead of monkeying around with bell-to-bell cell phone bans, the legislators would deal with their target, which is the budget. It was due April 1st. Here it is past the 1st of May, and we still don't have a budget. It's just terrible, and it's impossible for districts to plan for their budget.
That's Dr. Ralph Kerr with the Teaching and Learning Institute. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Issues in Education and all of Family Life's original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or at familylife.org.
There's nothing so demoralizing as stumbling into your kitchen in the morning and being greeted by a sink full of dirty dishes. No, I'm not on a rant. Hi, I'm Rob West with another Faith and Finance Minute. I just want to draw a comparison between dirty dishes and managing money. The reason the kitchen sink gets filled with dirty dishes is that we don't clean them when the chore is manageable. Instead, we pile one dirty thing on another, telling ourselves we'll clean it up later. When later comes, the chore seems overwhelming. It's the same with managing money. The key to making it less burdensome is to keep up with it regularly. The FaithFi app can help you with that. Don't let your money management tasks pile up. Instead, keep up. You'll find that it makes managing your money so much easier. Discover the best Christian financial articles, podcasts, and videos by visiting our website, faithfi.com, or by downloading FaithFi, Faith and Finance from your app store.
Coming up on the 5 o'clock report, bear versus dog versus woman. Who wins? We've got the outcome after weather.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast for tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Plenty of clouds, and from time to time a shower, and in some cases a thunderstorm. There will also be some overnight and early morning fog patches. Low temperatures tonight, 50s. High temperatures tomorrow and Wednesday, mostly in the 60s to near 70.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally, at 5, a Florida woman and her small dog barely escaped major danger when they had a close encounter with a bear. It looked like trouble when Kristen Savage and her Chihuahua mix Ringo crossed paths with the bear outside her home. The bear seemed particularly interested in Ringo as a lunch guest until Kristen came up with an even more tempting treat, a bag of cookies that her mom, who lives down the street, had given her minutes earlier and which were still in her hand.
I threw the bag at her and she stopped for a minute. She went towards us, then she stopped and went back and sniffed the cookies. As soon as she was distracted by the cookies, I ran to the front door.
Wildlife officers later determined the mama bear had set up housekeeping in the woods nearby and was instinctively protecting her cubs. And Kristen says from one mom to another, no hard feelings.
I'm a mom myself, so if I ever thought my kids were in danger, I would fight somebody for them too.
And that's the way the cookies crumbled. That's the world that we live in for Monday, May 5th. I'm Sarah Harnish, and this is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.